So let me stray, please guide my way onto the path of my being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, I'm calling your name. Oh Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome dear viewers from around the world joining us on our live program Let's Talk, and I'm your host for the program, Junaid Dar. Dear brothers and sisters, I'd like to begin by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us once again this beautiful opportunity to speak about His deen. Furthermore, I'd also like to make mention of the blessed name of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, you're probably wondering what is the title for today's discussion. It is none other than justice. And what a beautiful subject to speak about in these days, especially with what is going on around the world. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us very clearly in the Quran that He orders the believers with justice and with righteousness. We can look into the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we find that his message called out to those who were oppressed, who were treated unjustly, like the weak and the poor. And most of the followers of the Prophet ﷺ in the early days were those from these oppressed groups of people. But my question to you now, moving 1,400 years away from that, when we look into the Muslim countries today, do we see justice? When we look into, for example, Syria, when we look into Burma, when we look into Palestine, when we look into Kashmir, do we see justice? I think you would agree that the very last thing you'll find in these countries is justice. So the question is, why? Is the problem with Islam? Is the problem with the Muslims? If so, then what can we do about it? How can you clarify these misconceptions? Not just that, but we'll find many people also saying that Islam is unjust to disbelievers. Islam is unjust to women. So there's so many misconceptions, inshallah, that we are here to clarify. And we want to get people's opinions and people's perspectives on all of these different subjects. So brothers and sisters, do join us on this fantastic program and do share with us your points of view as well. Let us begin by getting an introduction from our very well-respected guests, and then we can go straight into our discussion for the evening. If I can turn to my right, brothers, if I can ask you to give us your name and give us some background information about yourselves, and we can go around the table hopefully like that. Okay. So brother, if you can begin, please.
Thank you, brother, for having me here on the show, on this very informative show that's, always discuss the topics that matter for the youth. My name is Muhammad Arabi. I'm a fresh graduate from Al-Azhar University, and I was a fellow at School of Professional Extended Studies, American University in Washington, D.C., and I'm doing my master's in Islamic Studies as well. So this is the only basic about me, inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much, brother Muhammad. Go ahead, brother.
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I'm so happy. I'm glad to be here again. My name is Shafi Sufyan. I'm from Tanzania. I came up here in Egypt to study in the Azhar Sharif, Arabic language, general Arabic language, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, brother Shafi. Inshallah, we will hear loads from you during the program. If I can turn to my left-hand side, brother, if I can ask you to give us your name and some background information, please.
My name is Amin Muhammad Amin. I'm working as a project engineer at one of the Egyptian companies here in Egypt from the petroleum sector.
Okay.
I'm studying Islamic Studies at the Higher Institute of Islamic Studies for Foreign Languages in Medina Nasr.
Okay.
I ask Allah to make this effort exclusive for His sake and to accept from all of us.
Okay, thank you very much, brother Amin. And our fourth guest, brother, go ahead.
My name is Ismail Charawali from Sierra Leone. Actually, I'm also a student at Al-Azhar University, and I'm doing my master's actually in languages and translation.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome to the program.
Thank
so
you.
mashallah, we have a collection of different fields and different expertise. If I can begin with brother Muhammad, as you're on my right hand side, how would you define to our audience the meaning of justice?
Yeah. In the name of Allah, most beneficent and most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and the blessings be sent up to him, his household and companions, and whoever follows him in goodness up to the judgment day. Inshallah, the word justice is one of the overriding and one of the frequent topics in the Quran and the Sunnah, and this is one of the the concerns of the Islamic Sharia and Islam in general, because it's an intrinsic value, an intrinsic teaching in Islam that we are required day in and day out to be just. You know, it is, you know, the word justice have been mentioned in the Quran about, you know, 18 times.
Okay.
You know, let alone the words which are, you know, can go interchangeably or can cognate word or synonymous word like the word adl that have been, you know, mentioned about seven times.
Okay.
Right. So you know, the Islamic definition of justice is so brief. You know, it is just striking balance into everything.
Okay.
Striking balance into behaviors, striking balance into the dealings. You know, maintaining fairness, objectivity, equality in everything. So this is, you know, the basic definition of the word justice in Islam. And anybody's trying to, you know, complicate it any further, you know, it's gonna to, you know, end and beat around the bush and get out to the same, you know, the same conclusion that justice is a balance. And you know, and there is lots of ayahs that goes, you know, to support and bedrock this meaning or this conclusion. Like Allah Azza wa Jal said, لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الميزان والكتاب والميزان بالقسط لكي يقوم الناس بالقسط.
Okay.
So the word qist means justice.
Right.
So the balance meaning that the measures that people follow to reach to the level of justice that Allah Azza wa Jal have enjoined us and commanded us to be. And the Al-Kitab is spelled out, which is the revelation, the scripture, that spelled out all the requirements or the criteria of justice. So this is, you know, the definition that Islam tends to uphold and ask us to establish it on the land, which is justice.
Okay, thank you very much for that beautiful introduction. Brother Amin, if I can turn to you now and ask you to give us some possible proofs. Brother Muhammad mentioned one. Could you give us a proof from the Quran or the Sunnah talking about justice?
Okay, but I'd like to shed light on the definition first.
Sure.
In order to figure out the most precise definition of justice, we have to define it technically and linguistically as well. First, al-adl, justice came from the word adala. Al-adl from the word adala, يعدل عادل, فهو عادل, عدل يعدل عدلا, فهو عادل, which means استقامة, to straighten, to straight fast, to go straight. So adl is to straight. Okay, but it's from or in the Islamic worldview, justice is or denotes placing things in their rightful place. Placing things in their rightful place. It is in Islam. It's a moral virtue, and it is a attribute of human personality, like in the Greek philosophy or other or other meanings. So another definition to justice is justice giving others their rights. This is from justice.
Very nice.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed justice and determined justice on everything.
Okay.
Even the sun, the moon, the earth, the land, the water. Allah stated in the Quran, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ وَالْقَمَرَ قَدَّرْنَاهُ مَنَازِلَ حَتَّى عَادَ كَالْعُرْجُونِ الْقَدِيمِ. This is justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala determined this in the Quran. And another verse, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this in the Hadith, إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء فإذا قتلتم فأحسنوا القتلة. If you kill well. If you وإذا ذبحتم, slaughter well. ثم the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم recommended to sharpen the blade while slaughtering animal.
Sure.
This is okay. And another verse, Allah stated in the Quran, ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا. Don't let the hatred of people drive you to hate others, even though they are not Muslim, even though they are disbelievers. This is a little bit of definition of justice.
All right, excellent. We'll come back for further questions. Brother Shafi, if I can get your input here. Is it possible for people to achieve justice stepping away from the teachings of Quran and Sunnah? Is there other ways of attaining justice?
Well, when we talk, speaking of justice, first of all, justice is not about, it's not only about Islam. I mean, justice more than, I mean, we have to practice justice for Muslims and non-Muslims. So you can find more examples from Islam or even out of Islam.
Sure.
As long as community or people practice justice in a way that supposed to be. So if you look at the Islam, and you wanna find more examples for justice or any evidence of justice, you find more because Islam is a region of justice.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Brother Ismail, let's bring you into the discussion here, especially with your background involved in politics and so on and so forth. Is Islam a core teacher of justice? And if so, why is it that today we find many of the Muslim communities being unjust?
Well, thank you for asking me the question. Really, as Muslims, we are guided by the divine law, which is the Quran, and also the Sunnah. You know, there are no ways for us Muslims, even the world, the tranquility that we need in the world, the peace, the love we need in the world. There is no way we can master all these things if we leave Quran behind.
Okay.
Because the Quran, you know, comprises of all the things that we need in this life. When we talk about justice in the context of Islamic studies, you know, we are referring to not only Muslims, like my brother said.
Sure.
Muslims ruled some places in the world, like in Spain. When
Okay.
they conquered there, they left the Christians in their own free will. Nobody was forced to accept Islam.
Sure.
And they served them. They gave them their right. This is Islam. So there is no way we can live, you know, in this world that we may create some kind of laws. We say this is a human-made law, like we have the ICC,
Okay.
which is not practicing any justice, because we have seen people who are pursued by the law.
Okay.
Like when you talk about presidents, but we have people that have committed crimes against humanity, whether in Iraq by Tony Blair and George Bush.
Sure.
All of those people are living today on in the surface of the world. Nobody is pursuing them. So, but the Quran, the teachings of the Quran says that, you know, you have to give the right to people who deserve it.
Excellent.
It doesn't mean that people, you know, when they do good, they have to be rewarded. Even if they do something that is bad, the punishment is determined by God in
Okay.
the Holy Quran. So they have to be punished according to the law of the divine law, yes.
Okay, excellent. Brother Muhammad, if I can get your input now, what is the difference between justice and equality, or are they the same thing?
Yeah, this is a great question. You know, because many people, you know, tends to mix both. You know, justice. When we speak about justice, and I tend to refer to the word qist, because the word qist in Arabic means the ultimate justice. Well, the word adl in Arabic means just justice, merely justice. You know, but you know, God, when asked us to be just, first uphold qist. Qist means ultimate justice.
Okay.
But you know, as your abilities you know, are concerned, so you can go for adl.
Okay.
You know, كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. Then at the end of the day, اعدلوا وأقرب للتقوى means act justly. For Allah Azza wa Jal loves those who are just. إن الله يحب المقسطين. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't, the Quran, you know, doesn't end the ayah إن الله يحب العادلين means those who are, you know, equal, like equality. No, but equality here, you know, it's part of justice.
Okay.
Because justice, you know, contains or includes two, you know, main or basic attributes, which are fairness and equality. Fairness, to be fair, which is, you know, spelled out in the revelation.
Okay.
The Quran taught us what is wrong, what is right, what is bad, what is good, what is lawful, what is unlawful, and what is fair and what is unfair. So knowing where you know, where where some person or some organization or any other peer in a certain field of study or in a certain field of life know where to compete fairly and squarely, so they will know that this is the fairness that's part of justice. So they are, you know, nearer and next to piety, because أقرب للتقوى. And the second thing, which is equality. Equality is the second part. That's people who are, you know, upholding the motto that all people are equal before the law.
Sure.
And who tends to apply the letter and the spirit of the law first. They know what equality means. So equality is part and parcel of justice, but it's not justice.
Okay.
It is not interchangeably used with justice. It's not synonymous with justice. It is part of justice, and without equality, justice is incomplete. And without fairness, justice is incomplete. Both half and half. You can put both to reach the word justice.
Okay.
And you know, I would like to add one thing to why justice, you know, is missing. Why we don't see justice in the land?
Sure, go ahead.
Because first of all, this is a perennial conflict.
Okay.
This is, a long-standing conflict between self-interest and justice. People who are, looking for self-interest, people who are, elevating their hate or their love before justice, they tend to do injustice.
Okay.
They tend to, swerve or depart very far from justice.
Okay.
So when we look in the Quran, we find that the Quran, give us remedies and try to, preclude all these impossibilities and all these impediments to justice.
Okay.
I won't talk about this because this needs, a lot of talking, but because I don't want to take out my brother's time. But this is one of the things that we have to know. And the justice of Islam, permits no favoritism,
Okay.
no special favors.
Sure.
And the justice of Islam is not right now standing.
Okay.
So when we missed the justice of Islam, we found the alternative, the automatic alternative, which is injustice.
Okay, I like those points you've
Yeah.
raised. I want to come back to those and get
Yeah.
everyone's opinion on those. But before we do that, I'd like to turn to Brother Amin and ask you, can you bring forward some examples of justice from our history, from the companions of the Prophet or the Prophet himself?
Sure. The Prophet ﷺ himself said that the most prominent thing of justice in Islam is that justice used as a comprehensive term. Justice comprehends human being, comprehends animals, and comprehends other existences and other beings. The Prophet ﷺ said, لو أن فاطمة بنت محمد سرقت لقطع محمد يدها.
Okay.
This is a very good example. Another example, Usayd ibn Hudayr, one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, companion of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, came to the Prophet ﷺ one day, was sitting with him, and Usayd ibn Hudayr used to tell jokes. He said something, the Prophet ﷺ laughed and hit him in his waist.
Okay.
Usayd ibn Hudayr said to the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, أوجعتني, it hurts me, it is painful. The Prophet ﷺ said, O Usayd, you can take your right from me.
Okay.
Then Usayd came to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and came close to him and said, O Messenger of Allah, you hit me, and I was without the garment, so I will do that without the garment. The Prophet ﷺ took off his garment, and Usayd ibn Hudayr came close to the Prophet ﷺ and began to kiss the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet asked him, why did you do that, Usayd? He said, I'd like to kiss you, Ya Rasulullah. Even though the Prophet ﷺ, he was the president of the Muslim Ummah, he was the great man in this Ummah, and even though the Prophet ﷺ gave the people their rights.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Amin, for those examples there. Dear viewers, we've got a report prepared for you now on the subject of justice. Let's watch this report together, and then when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion and hopefully look at some misconceptions and try to clarify these up. So let's watch this report together, and we'll see you all in a few moments.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanallahi al-azim. How perfect you are, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam was the best example when it came to everything sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he led by an example. And the Sahaba after him were the greatest of people who followed his path sallallahu alayhi wasallam. During the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was a Khalifa, Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was the most powerful man on the surface of this earth. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the head of the Muslim state. And what happens? Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu loses his shield, his armor. So while he was walking in the market, he finds his shield behind a table of a Jewish man that's selling it. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu lost his shield, his armor. And while he was in the market, he found this Jewish man selling it. So Ali ibn Abi Talib told him, this is my shield. So the Jewish man says, no, it's my shield and it's in my hands. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, what does he do? He's got the authority to do whatever he wants. He's the head of state. He's the most powerful man on the surface of this earth. This after the Islamic State had expanded and so on. Ali ibn Abi Talib is going to say, get the guards and and get him and lock this man up. But Ali ibn Abi Talib didn't do that. Why? Because Islam does not tell him to do that. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the head of the Islamic State, the Khalifa, will take this Jewish man and go to Qadi Shuraih, who go to the judge in a court and stand under the judge's podium or the table. And he stands in front of the judge, and his opponent is a Jewish man. And Shuraih, the Qadi, the judge Shuraih, will ask Ali, what's your matter? So Ali will say that this shield in the hands of this Jewish man belongs to me. So the Shuraih will say to the Jewish man, where did you get this shield from? The Jewish man will say, no, it belongs to me and it's in my hands. So look at Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Khalifa, will say to him, do you have witnesses? So Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, I've got only my son. So the Qadi, the judge, says, your son is not acceptable to be a witness to his father. A son is not accepted to be a witness to his father. So he looks at the Jewish man and he gives the right for the Jewish man to keep the shield. He made a judgment. He made a judgment for the Jewish man because Ali, the Khalifa, the one that would not even lie. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum do not lie. They are just and udul. And this is Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu from the greatest of people. And there, Shurah will say to Ali, sorry, it's the Jewish man's, it's the shield belongs to the Jewish man. When the Jewish man saw this justice, Allahu Akbar, this justice is not justice of mankind. This is the justice of above mankind, and that's Islam. He said, Wallahi, I took this shield when it fell down from Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and I took it and now it's in my hand. I want to give it back to Ali because these are the manners of prophets and messengers. And he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. So Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, because you are my Muslim brother, now take this shield as a present. Where is this justice? They don't have this hatred and grudge. He's a kafir, step on his head. He's a kafir, don't even give him the time of the time of the essence. He's a kafir, don't even look at him. That's not Islam. We mix our grudges and hatred and personal issues with Islam. We as Muslims, we are here to invite people to Islam. Abu Bakr was a kafir. Omar was a kafir. All the Sahaba were kuffar. And now they are the greatest of examples. We should wish, wallahi, we should wish the best thing for them. And the best thing for them is Islam.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters, joining us live on our program Let's Talk. You just had a view of a report talking about justice. Let's get back to our participants here and let's continue with our discussion. If I can turn to Brother Shafir, we had Brother Amin just telling us, giving us some examples of justice in our history. Could I ask you to give us further examples from our history as well, please?
Well, again, like I said before, there's so many examples of justice in Islam because Islam is a religion of peace and justice and the right. I remember one example when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Mu'adh what the justice should be practiced between a person, I mean slave, with Allah. And Mu'adh said, Allah knows the best and His messenger. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, told Mu'adh, say that the right of human to Allah is to worship Him with no any to participate with anyone. So
sure.
This is one of the example of justice. I mean, practice justice between you and Allah, or otherwise you're gonna practice injustice. And also, there's so many examples of justice in Islam.
Excellent. So you're saying one of the forms of justice is to worship Allah alone and not to make partners with Allah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is one of the part of justice, like between you and Allah. Then you can, if you practice justice between you and Allah, then you're gonna be able to practice justice to others.
Excellent.
You worship God, the one who created you, provide you everything, and then you keep going in other parts or types of justice.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much for that. Brother Ismail, I want to move forward a little bit now, and I want to have a look at, we've had a look at justice. Is it possible that we can achieve justice without having strength or without having to enforce justice? Because people say humans are created with goodwill, they have good intentions. So is justice and strength connected?
Yes, but it depends on how people look at it, you understand. Because there are too many people who go with the idea that Islam is all about force, using force on people. Even when they talk about the rights of women, they say that women are forced to to stay home.
Okay.
They are not given their rights. When they talk about the right of children, they say Muslims are not treating their children in the way that they should be treated. All of these things actually they are false, because Islam itself is not about using force.
Okay.
The idea of saying that Islam is the religion of force, it's spread through the sword, it's wrong. The biggest country in the world that has the biggest number of Muslims is Indonesia. You have Malaysia. All of these countries, no army was sent to them.
Okay.
But look at them today.
Sure.
Look at Nigeria, that has the biggest Muslim population in Africa. Look at Senegal. Look at the Gambia. Or Guinea-Conakry. All of these countries actually accepted Islam through reading the Quran itself. They knew that the people in the early time, they knew that this is the message of God. You understand? So Islam is not about force. It's not about using force. Islam actually is the religion of peace. You understand? What people are saying that it uses force and to implement Islam, you have to use force. No. But, even today in countries, you have the constitution that this should not be done.
Okay.
Why do we have the police? It's because they have to, enforce the law.
Okay.
So that's actually what happened in the early time of Islam. Like the hadith that my brother said, actually, it was a woman who stole a property, and she was brought to the Prophet.
Okay.
The Prophet looked at the situation. He said, no, this woman has to be, her hand has to be cut.
Okay.
But there was a disciple of the Prophet who said that, wanted to intervene. And the Prophet told him that, إِنَّمَا حَلَّكَ الَّذِينَ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ إِذَا سَرَكَ فِيهِمْ الْغَنِي تَرَكُوهُ وَإِذَا سَرَكَ فِيهِمْ الضَّعِيفُ قَامُوا عَلَيْهِ الْحَدِّ.
Okay.
And it means here that the people who were before you, who were entrusted with the message, definitely those are the people, the Jews and the Christians. Whenever someone who is wealthy,
sure,
did a mistake or did wrong, like they steal, they did something, actually they left them.
Okay.
But when the poor people, the trodden people, the people whom they consider that to be the very low in the society, when they did something, they always come with the law. They say, this is the law.
Okay.
You understand? And that's actually what is prevailing today. That's actually what is prevailing today. So for us as Muslims, I believe that we do not use force on people.
Okay.
But we always abide by the law of God. And the law of God means if someone, does something that is wrong, if they kill, they have to be killed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, very nice. I feel there are some people who may disagree with what Brother Ismail is saying, but we're going to go for a short break, and then when we come back, inshallah, we'll open up this very question to all of you. So my dear brothers and sisters, let's take a short break here, and then when we come back, we'll continue with this discussion of justice. Do we have to use strength to implement justice, or do we leave it to the goodwill of the people? We'll see you all in a few moments.
How perfect my life, and I praise. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah, how perfect you are, Allah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
TV commercials motivate viewers into immediate action and to sway consumer loyalty from one brand or service to the other. That's why we're here for you, to help you sell your products and services by using creative ideas that bring life into your own TV commercial. Advertise your business and branded products and services on Huda TV. We will offer you fast-paced and energetic 30-second affordable TV spots. Advertise on Huda TV, acquire fresh customers and stay within your budget. For more info or to receive a quote, please send your inquiries to advert@Huda TV. Huda TV.
Huda TV strives to remain the premier English language Islamic channel in the world. And to do so, we need your input. Send us your thoughts, suggestions and feedback through email at feedback@hoda.tv. Huda TV is committed to helping others, so why not help Huda TV share the message of Islam worldwide? Take part in helping spread the authentic message of Islam based on the Quran and the Sunnah throughout the world by sponsoring Huda TV. Don't miss this unique opportunity to gain the reward from Allah.
Now that we know more about da'wah, what would you say are the characteristics of a da'i?
Sincerity.
Sincerity. Yes?
Good relation with Allah.
Good relation with Allah. Okay.
Patience.
Yes, sir?
Good manners.
Good manners. And there is much more to that. Join us in our program, the Da'wah Workshop, by your brother Dr. Rayyan Fawzi Arab, so that we could talk more about Da'wah exclusively on Huda TV.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters from around the world, joining us live on our fantastic program, Let's Talk. And I'm your host, Junaid Dar. Dear brothers and sisters, we are talking about the topic of justice. And before the break, we were talking about justice. Can it be achieved without strength? And we had Brother Ismail implying that we don't really need to use strength. But I think we have a disagreement. Brother Muhammad, if I can get your viewpoint on this, what do you think?
Yes, sir. Actually, I see that just establishment on the land is not something that can be taken in abstraction. The Quran itself, when Allah Azza wa Jalla spoke of justice or injustice, justice has some. It has to be regulated. Actually, it has to be regulated. Sure. And how it has to be regulated? It's not left for the ordinary people to make a sort of vigilante justice. No, but justice is based on two constituent elements for establishment, not just justice. We know that the part of justice. What are the constituent elements of justice establishment?
Okay.
First of all, first one, I will get back to the ayah. لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الميزان والكتاب ليقوم الناس بالقسط.
Okay.
So let's here try to demystify this ayah or try to analyze the ayah.
Okay.
First, al-mizan, the word al-mizan, or look, Allah Azza wa Jalla, followed or preceded the word al-mizan before the word al-kitab.
Right.
Al-kitab is just what? Just written theories. I mean that we have the book, we have the Quran.
Political theory.
Written. الكتاب
لقد أرسلنا رسلنا وأنزلنا معه الكتاب first والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط. So الكتاب first and then الميزان.
Yeah. So the book has nothing to do with the actual application on the ground.
Sure.
I mean that the book is mentioned a lot of good theories. Good theories. All of them are good. We read about justice in the Quran. We say, wow, that's very very good. وإذا حكمتم بين الناس تحكمون. And when you judge between people, judge between them with justice. Excellent. Good thing. But where's the application? The application has to have something we call, first one, we call it the law making force, which is which has a purpose of justice. The second part or the second constituent element is the organizational force.
Okay.
And this is what about 100 or 1,400 years ago, God has established and has give us the requirements for establishing justice. So the constituent elements is lawmaking and organizational force. Okay. And this is justice demanded by Islam, that is not based on the whims and the desires of people. For Allah, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا الْهَوَى أَن تَعْدِلُوا وَإِن تَلْوُوا أَوْ تُعْرِضُوا, and don't follow your own unbridled whims and desires, for justice. And if you distort justice by saying we are doing justice, we are making justice in the land, but they are doing injustice, not the vice versa. And وَإِن تُلُوا أَوْ تُعْرِضُوا, or you decline or turn away from doing justice, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا. So Allah is well acquainted with everything that you do. So I believe that in order that justice to be established on the land and be upheld, it has to has the soft power
Okay,
I'm not
so
saying
has to have an organizational structure.
organizational, yeah, organization. For that, Allah Azza wa Jal, you know, didn't commission people, just ordinary people, to uphold justice, but commissioned Waliyul Amr, the head of the state, whatever, you know, is called before it had been called Waliyul Amr, the person who is in charge, of everything. Amir al-Mu'minin, the Khalifa, now is a president, or we can say the head of the Supreme Court, or whatever. Now the world has something called the International Court of Justice, and there is lots of courts of law in every where and when that doing what they are doing for justice.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
Brother Ismail, I know you want to say something, but before I bring you in, I want to bring in Brother Shafi. Do you agree with Brother Ismail that we don't need strength, or do you think Brother Muhammad's stance of having a systematic or a political structural organization is needed in order to establish justice?
You know, as long as you're talking about justice, you're talking about right. And if you commit wrong, you take someone's right, you don't practice justice, you practice injustice, which means you have to be punished.
Okay.
And if you leave people do like this, I mean, they don't practice justice, they take some others' right, and then you just talk to them. After that, they just hear, you know, people hear, they just listen, and next day they're going to do that again. There's nothing behind them. I think here we have to use power. We have to use strength to control. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So I agree, and I think for somehow we need the strength to practice justice. That's
Okay.
why Islam. This is Islamic law, and this is one of the rules of Islam.
Okay.
And the brother Ismail brought example when he was talking about Indonesia, Malaysia, about practicing justice. I can add on top of that, brother Ismail, it was about to bring dawah, to bring dawah, to call people for Islam.
Okay.
And that's why we don't need that example. For me, I understand it's a little bit different. Talking about practice justice, that's just to call people in Islam. When you practice justice, already people inside Islam.
Sure.
That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, I mean, Islam doesn't force someone to believe, but once you believe in Islam, you have to order and to obey. You have to obey. Excuse me. You have to obey the rule. So
right.
for me, I think in order to practice justice, for somehow we need
some strength.
Some strength.
All right, excellent. I haven't asked Brother Amin's opinion, and then we'll come to Brother Ismail. I know you're waiting very patiently, but Brother Amin, what do you think? Do we need strength in order to establish justice?
Of course.
Okay.
Really, I said that justice denotes placing things in their rightful place.
Okay.
So if we need force, we have to force people.
Okay.
Use political or organizational systems or whatever. But really, I wanted to stress and shed a light on an important thing,
Okay.
which is justice, the correlation between justice and force, or between Islam and force, confined in one thing,
Okay.
in jihad.
Right.
The people said that Islam is not the religion of peace, Islam is spread by sword and so on. But really, I think the main reason is the conflict and contradiction between the scholars.
Right.
If you ask anyone, did really Islam, or does really Islam recognize with jihad? He said, no, jihad, there is no jihad in Islam. And the verses talk about jihad, it's it's not good. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed jihad in the Quran and the Sunnah. And the
Okay.
Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spread the message of Islam by the kind word and by the sword as well.
Okay.
Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu said that من عدل عن هذا, the Quran, قومناه بهذا. This is the force in Islam, and
Sure.
we have, okay, Allah said to the believers at the beginning of the message of Islam, ألم تر إلى الذين قيل لهم كفوا أيديكم وأقيموا الصلاة, to the end of the verse. Then Allah permit them to spread and to use the force. قاتلوا الذين لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر ولا يحرمون ما حرم الله ورسوله ولا إلى أن قال, to the end of the ayah, حتى يعطوا الجزية عن يد وهم صغيرون.
Okay.
So I think the contradiction between the scholars in the interpretation of this This is most prominent reason for using force.
Okay, thank you very much. They're coming with some evidences as well. Thank you very much. So we have two very strong opinions for, and we have a half opinion for. Brother Ismail, it seems like you are alone on this, but I will try to help you out here. Do you feel that one of the reasons to why force is not necessary in the form of a political state is that maybe those who claim to be religious will misuse the religion to proclaim their own form of justice?
Oh yes, I just want to go back to the point that maybe they misunderstood my, my narration of the issue. Of course, every system, what they are talking about is a system of government.
Sure.
It existed during the time of the Prophet. It existed during the time of Umar and during the time of Usman and Ali. You understand? There was a system of government wherein you have the people who can go to collect even the alms of God, which we call the zakat. There were, able men who could go around to collect the zakat, right? This is the system of government. But what I'm saying, when they talk about like the West or people in some other areas of the Christians and other religions, they refer to Islam as a religion of violence.
Okay.
This is what I'm trying to tackle here.
Okay.
I don't deny the fact that we should have a system of government. Of course, when you have a system of government, in the time of the Holy Prophets, there was the army.
Sure.
There were the people who were, the responsible to maintain peace, to maintain order, law and order, like we have them today. But of course, we cannot compare those, institutions to the institutions that we have today. We have police today in our countries, but not for justice. It's for securing the power that is existing in those countries.
Sure.
We have army. In the early days of Islam, the army was there to protect the people, whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim. So the idea of saying that Islam, was spread through the sword, through the use of force, this is actually what I'm trying to refuse here. But your question about whether
misuse of religion.
Yes, of course we've seen this in many areas, even today, you understand. Sometimes when people have power over the other people, they misuse this power. We've seen this prevailing even in the recent time.
Sure.
There are issues, in many countries today, like in the Gambia, you might have heard there is a problem, political problem, wherein the opposition won the elections and the president does not want to go. So these kind of issues are prevailing today. So he's a Muslim, by the way. And if you look today, it's because I want to emphasize the area of, people saying that the Quran is not the book of justice. Of course, we Muslims ourselves do not respect what has been prevailed in the Quran.
Right.
If you ask many people today, many scholars, they'll tell you the whole, articles of the United Nations. They know what the UN wants, what they don't want. They know what IMF wants. They know what they don't want. If you ask them for the Quran, they will not tell you anything. So we have abandoned the message of God. We took the other messages that, are man-made. Look at what happened in the 60s.
Right.
When there was the declaration of the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, there were only 2 countries that had arsenals of nuclear weapons, Russia and the United States of America.
Okay.
But look at the injustice that prevailed that time. They said, we are going to keep the stockpiles of the nuclear weapons, but other nations should not be given the right.
Right.
This is not justice. So, but now we have Muslim countries joining like the UN, and there are conditions that you have to respect. These conditions are contrary to the Quran. They are contrary to, because they tell you that today they are preaching a gay marriage, same-sex marriage. You understand?
Okay.
Whereas the Quran tells you that the man can marry up to 4 women.
Okay.
Why? It's very obvious. Go to every country today, you find women, the number of men triple the number of men.
Right.
So even if every man, gets married to 2 women today in the whole world, you will have also millions of women who will remain without husbands. But this also is being protected by the United Nations. We go to the United Nations, we respect these but we don't respect the Quran.
Okay, so we're saying here that people are away from the Quran. Brother Muhammad, I have another very interesting question. Some people will say in the modern world we live in today, the rules that Islam brings forward with regards to justice and so forth is outdated, or is difficult to implement, should I say. So today we should leave religion inside the house, and we should use a different way of bringing justice, use a different system for bringing about justice, and leave religion in your private life. What would you say about that?
Actually, as we have said, and we are, trying to reinstate and reiterate the idea that religion, the religion as, as a systemic way of thought and input in any society, any given society, is coming to, elevate as a overriding concern of justice. Sharia law, any rules or laws in the Sharia, which is a Islamic law that's had been enshrined in the Quran and the Sunnah,
sure,
is just to elevate and uphold justice and establish justice among people in general.
Okay.
So when somebody comes with with some malicious or veracious call of calling leave Islam alone, or leave Islam away from the state, away from the legislature, from the personal status law, from the laws of other things, and we have the charter of the UN, and we can depend on this. Yes, no problem. Islam, when Islam came about 1400 years ago, it's elevated justice that had been long standing before Islam comes,
okay,
before the advent of Islam, and it comes to remove and preclude the injustices on the land. So it's we call it that Islam subsets on justice, and Islam is against injustice, because the word Islam itself means submission to God.
Okay.
Submission to God, to submit. When you submit to God, you are doing justice to yourself. When you submit to other than God, you are doing injustice to yourself.
Very
this
nice.
is to put it simply, and to put it in a way that's so easy to understand, because people tend to understand, to see that, or to try to convince others that Islam coming to enforce injustice.
Okay.
Islam coming to enforce justice on people, on unbelievers, on anyone that disagree with Islam. No, the Quran itself, that this book has maintained the arguments of the disbelievers against God.
Okay.
زعم الذين كفروا أن لن يبعثوا. Those who disbelieve, those who are didn't believe in God, they are arguing, or they are saying that they won't be revived again, that they won't be resurrected. God wanted to establish justice among them, and try to outlive their arguments, and telling them, no, this is what's going to happen, and this is a justice between people when they speak, when they have a sort of conversation. I have to tell the complete story. I don't have to side with one part at the expense or to the exclusion of the other.
Okay.
So this is وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل. There are lots of this is a frequent topic in the Quran.
Nice.
So when we get back to many other ideas in the Quran, we find that all of them are based on ideas that lead to justice. I'm saying that ideas that leads to justice means removing the traces of jahiliyyah, ignorance.
Right.
Because ignorance is one of the reasons of injustice. Removing the notions of people who are what we can say, how we can put it here, people who are sort of justices, people who are oppressing their own selves. So the Quran spoke of dhulm, how to preclude dhulm in order that justice can live,
Okay.
in order that justice can prosper and thrive in any given society.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Brother Muhammad. We have just under 2 minutes to go, and these last 2 minutes I'd like to get each person's opinion, so you're going to have to be very quick, that's 30 seconds each, on how we can achieve justice in our societies, especially when we look at the Muslim world, a very sad reality. How can we achieve justice? So Brother Shafi, if I can ask you first, what can we do practically to achieve justice?
Well, justice can, to practice justice, to achieve justice, you have to look at the religion. I mean, you have to look at the Islam. Islam is completely talks about justice. That's it, because Islam, religion is a system of life. And like you say again, in order if someone tells you not to leave a religion in the house and then just to go whine like animals, excuse me, I'm afraid this word, we're going to live like animals.
Okay.
So in order to practice justice, you have to look at the religion, because religion is a system of life.
Excellent. So solution number one, turn back to the Book of Allah. The answers are there.
Exactly.
Brother, I mean, what is your solution? What can we do?
The same thing with Islamic knowledge. Really, the Prophet ﷺ said, إنه سيكون في آخر الزمان بلاء شديد لا ينجو منه إلا من عرف دين الله فجاهد عليه بلسانه وقلبه. The Prophet ﷺ related about the calamity, about the and so on, and the oppression is from this fitan, from this calamity. So we are in bad need for this Islamic knowledge.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, and the first duty is at-tawheed.
Okay, excellent. Worshipping of Allah. Brother Ismail, very quickly, please. I've been told that the time is up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I support what he said. You understand? The Quran comprises everything. If we actually follow the Quran, we will actually be a peaceful nations. Everybody will get their rights.
Okay.
Because the Quran is the word of God.
Okay, excellent. Muhammad, you have like 3 words.
Yeah, I have 3 words, and actually, I don't find any but this prayer or supplication that had been, mentioned in one of the books, that we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to treat us with, not with justice, but with forgiveness. Because if God is going to, apply the requirements of justice on us, we will doom to hellfire. May Allah protect us.
Ameen. Brothers, I would like to thank you very much for coming to the studio. It was a fantastic discussion. I think we opened the doors to another 10, 15 discussions. So I'd like to thank you very much, Brother Muhammad, Brother Shafiq, Brother Amin, Brother Ismail. Thank you all very much, and conclude by saying Assalamu alaikum to all of you together. Okay, thank you very much. Dear viewers, we've come to the end of our program here on Let's Talk, talking about the very important subject of justice. Brothers and sisters, when we look around the world, we can see the injustice taking place inside the Muslim world. Not just that, but even when we look outside, look into Europe, look into America, we can see the hashtag Black Lives Matter. We can see how in such a developed country, as they call it, there is still massive injustices, when Islam over 1,400 years ago gave us all the solutions to all of our problems. My dear brothers and sisters, it is imperative, it is important that we turn back to the Book of Allah, and not just turn back to it, but we implement its teachings, be there on an individual level, on a family level, on a social level, and just as the brother said, even on a political level. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. Inshallah ta'ala, we will see you next week on Let's Talk. So until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How perfect my Allah is, and I praise Him. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah. How perfect you are, Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, Allah. I'm calling your name, Allah. I call you, I need you, Allahu Akbar, Allah. Your mercy is great.